Hey everybody, what's going on? I'm DJ Sixsmith. You're watching The Sit Down. We got a legend in the building. José Feliciano's here with us. What's going on, man?
Well, a lot is going on. I would like to say, and I mean this very humbly, I'm not a legend. And the reason I'm not a legend is because I haven't died of an overdose yet.
You still got time.
Yeah.
You still got more music to make.
No, I do. And I'm very privileged. My album, I think, is one of the best albums that I've done in a bunch of years.
Why do you feel that way?
Yeah, my last album was an album entitled The King, where I did an album devoted to Elvis's music. I produced it, and it was a lot of fun. And then Helen Murphy, who at the time was running Ole Records, changed the name, and now it's called Anthem. And I think Anthem is more than just a boutique label, because when you have a dynamo like Helen Murphy on your team, you'd better be prepared to work, because if you're not going to succeed, stay the hell away, you know? And I want to succeed, and we have a great friendship. I love her to death, and I think she's very, very special.
I like it. So what was the biggest challenge of this new album?
Well, I think the biggest challenge was the material and recording in Nashville.
First time for you, right?
Yes. I've done concerts in Nashville, but I never recorded in Nashville, and I can see why people enjoy recording there, because the musicians have good vibrations, and it was a thrill for me.
I like it. I'm sure it was. You got back together with your old producer, right, and Rick?
I did. Rick and I got back together, and I keep saying this, but for me, Rick Gerard is like being with George Martin of the Beatles. His instincts are great. He knows what material to choose. He's the one that made me do. I say made me do because I was performing a version of Light My Fire. And when I would play the Golden Bear in Huntington Beach, California, I was doing Light My Fire because I was a big fan of The Doors. I was a fan of Robbie Krieger. I never met Jim Morrison, but I liked the way he thought. I liked his poetry.
So music has taken you all over the world. Take me back to the beginning. When did you realize you had the goods? And like when I hear you sing and play, it's a deeply emotional experience. When did you tap into that?
Well, I tapped into that when I was just a little boy in school, in elementary school.
This is in Puerto Rico at the time, or
no,
here in New York?
No, in New York. Okay. I came from Puerto Rico in 1950. I was part of the Puerto Rican migration to the United States. Now, the United States, some Puerto Rican nationals tried to kill President Truman. And luckily for them, for us, they weren't successful, because the man from Missouri was, I think, a very great president. He didn't really have time to warm up to the presidency because he was Roosevelt's vice president. And, you know, he's the guy that, like, for example, someday, I don't know how I would do it, but I would like to be like a Dave Patterson, who ran for governor and was successful. And I would be governor of somewhere so that I could help the blind. I think the blind technology is really needed. Like for example, my son, God bless him, programmed my iPhone. He was working at Apple, and he programmed my iPhone so that I could use it. Because I thought to myself, hey, Stevie Wonder's not the only one that's going to learn to use the iPhone. Did you hear what happened to Stevie Wonder?
No.
Somebody gave him a cheese grater for Christmas,
Okay.
and he said it was the most violent book he ever read.
Oh man, you've always had a good sense of humor, which I like about you.
I always said, well, when you're blind, you'd better have a sense of humor, because a lot of times you need to laugh. I mean, I'll go into a restaurant and a waitress will say to me, would you like to see a menu? When she doesn't know who I am. And she'll say, would you like to see a menu? And I said, lady, I'd like to see anything.
You're a good sport about it.
Yeah, I am, because you have to be. If you want to function in a sighted society, they have to adopt you. It isn't the other way around.
Well, I like the fact that you haven't let your blindness stop you. You mentioned what you do with your iPhone. I mean, I went to the same church as you and your kids growing up. I remember you reading from the Bible just using Braille. Like, you never let it stop you.
No. No, and I'm so, what church do you go to now?
So I live in New Jersey now. I go to a place called the Jacksonville Chapel. But yeah, I was at Assumption with you guys growing up in Connecticut.
Well, I used to go to camp in Barnegat Bay. And
that's where I got engaged, right there by the lighthouse. Yeah.
In Barnegat Bay?
Yep.
Well, the other thing was that I used to know a counselor. And as most 15-year-old boys do, I had a mad crush on her. Her name was Lynn Woodlad.
Okay, you still remember it all these years later.
Oh, yeah, and she was beautiful. She was gorgeous. You would have fallen for her if you saw her. I don't know what she's doing now, if she got married, if she has children. And it's also the same with, I had an ex-girlfriend, and her name was Patty Cabry. I met her in '62, and for a year and a half, we had a long-distance relationship. And let me tell people, long-distance relationships do not work.
They suck.
Yeah, they do.
Not great.
No. No.
So when I think about your career, I mean, Feliz Navidad has been a big one for you. Where were you at in your life and career prior to that? Like, what was it like building things out before that becomes a huge hit?
Well, I was in Brazil the year that I wrote Chico, and that was in 1970.
Early 70s?
Yeah, okay. Early 70s, let's say. And I had just met my wife, Susan. I was married before then to a lady that did help me in my career, but unfortunately, she helped herself more than she helped me. But even so, I will never forget what she did for me, because she did do a lot. And she came into my life when women, and even now, women were not accepted as managers of anything.
Right.
You know, a woman's place was in the kitchen. It's like the old joke. My wife said to me, are you gonna take me for my anniversary? Are you gonna take me someplace I've never been before? And I said, why don't you try the kitchen?
Come a long way since those jokes, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I value women. I love them, because if I didn't value women, my wife wouldn't be with me. Helen wouldn't be my friend, because Helen, you know, you see that beautiful and loving exterior. She's a tough cookie.
Yeah, and she's going to make you work, like you said.
She is going to make me work, but you know what? With her, I don't mind because I'm going somewhere. It's not like, well, did you try and get me on this show today? Well, you know, I couldn't because, you know, Helen doesn't stand for that.
No.
And I love it. And I don't care, for example, if other or people in the business who are managers don't like her. I say the hell with them. They don't know what they're missing.
Yeah, no question. So when you think about Feliz Navidad, what has been the craziest part of that journey? Just how far it's been, how wide it's been, what sticks out to you?
I think the thing that's really been amazing for me is that I wrote Feliz Navidad in California in 1970. And it was, again, another Rick Gerard suggestion. He said, Jose, there hasn't been a new Christmas song on the horizon. The last one was Rocking Around the Christmas Tree with Brenda Lee, Jingle Bell Rock by Bobby Helms, and White Christmas by Irving Berlin and Bing Crosby.
Yeah, those are from a long time ago.
Those are from a long time. So I think what I'm amazed about is that everywhere I travel, excuse me, like when I went to China, I couldn't believe it. The Chinese wanted to hear Feliz Navidad.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is amazing. And I love the Chinese people, and I'm very sad about this virus that's going around.
Yeah, hopefully.
That's why when I go to Mexico, should I have a corona?
You're not the only one who's a little confused by that, right?
Yeah, definitely. So I hope and I pray that this virus will be over soon, and I'll be able to go back to China because I want to go back.
Yeah.
I like the people very much.
So when I think about your career, you've been able to go all around the world. You've performed with a bunch of different people. Who are the coolest people that you performed with? What stands out to you all these years later?
I think the coolest people I ever performed with were Bill Withers, Seals and Crofts, Leon Russell. Those were the people that I got the most. Jose, Latin singer. I enjoyed working with him when we did a song called Por Ella, which went, Quiero que brindemos por ella.
Beautiful.
Después de todo es mejor que nunca sepa la pena que compartimos tú y yo. And Jose got to a point where he was on the road so much and he worked so hard that, and his family, they exploited him, and he started to talk like this. Mi hermanito, ¿cómo estás? ¿Cómo están las cosas? And it made me sad when I would see him because he always had a happy and jovial personality.
Something I didn't realize about your story until today was the 1968 World Series. And I watched that video of you performing, and I'm really surprised that it was an issue at that time because it was your beautiful rendition of the anthem. What do you remember from that time? And all these years later, why do you think it was a problem?
Well, don't forget, it was 1968.
Vietnam was going on at that point.
Vietnam was something that was going on, and the kids hated LBJ. Even though LBJ, he made history. He did more for civil rights than anybody.
Yeah, a lot was going on at that point.
Yeah, except for Lincoln. You know, Martin Luther King got killed. Bobby Kennedy got killed.
Yes, 68 was a brutal year.
If Bobby had not been killed, I think the Vietnam War would have been over, you know, sooner. But the Kennedys did something that I thought was wrong, and that was the Attorney General going after the mob. First of all, it was the mafia that had him as president. You don't do that.
Yeah, no, I know there was a ton going on with that, but I'm glad that your music has been able to cut through all these years later.
Me too, man, because it's helped me. Because I was so sad when these things happened.
Yeah, it's just a part of the journey.
Yeah, my music took me to where I wanted to go. My guitar has always been my passport to travel. And I love it.
So you're a man of faith. You got to perform at Yankee Stadium in front of the Pope. What was that experience like for you?
Well, it was, I think, my favorite. I liked both. I enjoyed playing for Pope Cardinal Wojtyła. I enjoyed performing for him. And I enjoyed playing for Cardinal Ratzinger, but Cardinal Ratzinger was not as jovial and as outgoing as Pope Paul was.
Right.
Pope Paul truly wanted to reach everyone and make the Catholic religion available to anyone who wanted to come home to it again. I know I came back because of Pope Francis. I came back because Pope Francis, being a Latino like me, I wanted to support him.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah. So, the man from Argentina was one. It's like, for example, what's the difference between a cow and an Argentinian?
I don't know. Tell me.
Well, the cow gives milk, and the Argentinian says, "Dale, che." La vaca da leche y el argentino dice, "Dale, che." But I love Pope Francis. I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think a pope should only be pope for so long and not till he gets old and sick.
Sure.
I don't believe in that. And they'll probably kill me in church, but I firmly believe, why does a man have to get sick being a pope? I say give him a term of I don't know how many years, but once he starts getting a little too old, I think they should elect a new one.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of life, to constantly question these things and think about these things. And I think Pope Francis has done that. And I think you've done that with your music in terms of adapting over the years. So
definitely.
When you think about your sound at the beginning, like back in the 60s to now, what are some of the differences?
I think it's changed. My voice is better. I sing better. I sing with more conviction about what I'm singing. I think before, I just sang to be a performer. I sang in school assemblies, and I dreamt in class that I would be like Elvis. And you know, in a sense, I felt that way.
Yeah.
I would sign autographs for the girls in school. And
how old were you at that point?
I would say between 15 and 16.
Oh, wow. You're definitely one of the coolest guys in school at that point.
I felt I was. And God felt I was. Otherwise, he would not have allowed me to continue.
Yeah, it's cool to see what he's done. So you got the new album, a book's coming out, documentary. What do you want people to know about your story that they don't know so far?
Well, especially people who are blind. I want them to look at my story and think to themselves, I can do this. Because that's how I started. When I first heard Ray Charles, and I heard his first record in 1950 something, I wanted to be that guy. I thought I could play Ray Charles's licks that he played on the piano on the guitar, and I did. And I sang Georgia on My Mind. I did all of Ray's Unchain My Heart. I did all of Ray Charles's songs, but I did his piano parts on the nylon string guitar.
Wow.
And I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
And you're still enjoying it, and you're
I'm
wonderful
still
at what you do.
enjoying it.
Thank you for all your music.
Well, thank you, my friend. Thank you for being a fan and listening to my music.
Yeah, good to have you here.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. That's Jose Feliciano. I'm DJ Sixsmith. We'll see you next time here on The Sit Down.